All right, Cassie Shum VP, Relational AI. We are here for a very quick 3-question segment in regards to the Snowflake Summit, which is coming up before we know it out in San Francisco, June 2nd and 5th. So, Cassie,
Yes.
I have one question for you to start. When you think about all the technology trends and enterprise AI and knowledge graph and agents and you name it, what's
Mhm.
the one trend that you're most stoked about to learn about, to engage with, to talk to people about at the summit coming up in San Francisco?
Yeah, no, ooh, what a great question. I think, given my background, so what I've been doing for the past 15 plus years was really work in enterprise organizations with big enterprise data. What I'm really, really excited about is unlocking that data, right? So there's a reason why I came to relational AI. I saw the potential for us to really understand what the business logic is at a data layer. And so, for 3 years now, we've been working at this. And so going into Snowflake Summit, where AI is at the core of Snowflake, agentic systems. How do you actually drive some of those foundational data to enable that? I think that's what I'm the most excited about is how to unlock that data and using our technology, using Snowflake, using relational AI to unlock that for all of these different amazing things that have been talked about for the past year plus. So.
Perfect answer and perfect segue to the next question. So, when you talk to people, let's say, let's imagine, fast forward to the future to the summit, right? And you're there and someone's like, "Hey, Cassie, how you doing? Nice to talk with you. So tell me a little bit more about relational AI." And when that light bulb goes on, like how does that light bulb typically go on? I'm sure it's case by case depending upon the tech quotient or data quotient of the person you're talking to, but I think the audience would probably love to hear you describe a bit about how and when that light bulb goes on and why it goes on.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I think it's taken a couple of tries for me to figure out how to actually, turn on that light bulb. But really, what's really like when everyone looks at me and I talk about this, it's really around the knowledge graph, right? It's really around bringing knowledge down to your data. And so I tend to talk about, applications that have intelligence, have logic, and then your data also, like, being separate. These are the things that have traditionally been the architectures for as long as I've been around. And so the light bulb goes off when I say, hey, what happens if we combine the two? What happens if you bring that knowledge down to your data and now you have one place that you can actually have all of these different intelligent interactions with? And I think this is where people are like, oh my gosh, tell me more. And then this is where we can, get into how do you actually take some of that logic, put that into a knowledge graph? If you think about graph in its own right, is like all these different relationships and connections between concepts. And as you and I both know, like we live in a world where everything is in relationships between concepts. And so we live essentially in a graph. So being able to take that concept and put it into human human thought process, like I think that's where the light bulb comes in because we don't think in databases. We actually think in a graph, and we have intelligence on that graph. So, I get really excited when I start talking about these kind of things because it really does apply to everybody's day-to-day life. So, yeah.
Without a doubt. And let's do a little off question. Let's go with an example. So if you were talking with someone, because I guarantee someone who's watching this, the light bulb just went on and they're like, "Ooh, that's interesting." And then the next question they probably have is like, "Cool. So give me an example, right? Give me an example of a use case or something exciting that you think about when you say, hey, so for example, once the knowledge and the data are kind of integrated in and this interconnected notion of these concepts can be brought to life, how does that come to life in the real world?" And I don't want to push in any direction of where the use case goes, whatever you want to go with, but I can guarantee somebody watching this right now is like, wow, tell me more, give me an example.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I'll talk about the one that I've been working with in the retail space, essentially. And so I think one thing that we've traditionally had in the data space is, we've had historical look backs, like how do we do analytics over large pieces of data? How do we do BI tooling and things like that? So we've traditionally been able to answer historical questions. how many how many things have I sold, how many TVs have I sold in the past 2 years, right? And when was it the greatest retail I don't know, like a boom in that TV, like what month was it in or something like that. So we've been historically being able to answer these questions. I think now we're in this space where we can answer forward questions. How can we predict the future? How can we look at something like supply chain and say, okay, we actually know how many TVs we sold back in May. How actually many can we sell, or what kind of pricing algorithm should we put across that in order to optimize how many we're going to sell in future, given all of these different things that are inputting into the intelligence of the application. So I'm really, really excited about this because right now we're at a time where all data and all intelligence can be in one place. And now we can actually say, what's the future look like and how can we predict a lot of that future given all the tools and technologies that we have. So yeah, very exciting.
Fantastic answer. I love that. And the light bulb is on. And for those people where it just went on, it's officially on for the long haul. So last question, if you were able to implant into every person's head that goes to Snowflake Summit and or comes by the booth or, attends, 4 of the talk series that the colleagues of ours are going to crush. What's the one idea or one kind of conclusion that you'd love each attendee to take away about relational AI if and when you could just plug it right into their minds for all these attendees that are going to be at the Snowflake Summit coming up in June 2nd to the 5th?
That's a good question. I'm going to turn it a little bit and I'm going to say, hey, audience, I'm going to prep you guys with figure out or find out, think about what your hardest problem you are dealing with on a day-to-day basis today in your own enterprise. Come to Snowflake Summit, come to do our booth, and let's see how we can answer that for you.
No offense to every other person I've talked to on this topic. That is the best answer by far, and there's no way anyone's going to beat that. You heard it here first. Cassie, once again, thank you. You just crushed it. I knew you would. And, looking forward to seeing you up in San Francisco, and thanks again for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.